So today we're going to get into a problem that's happening, well, literally inside the walls of our homes. As our neighborhoods stretch out into what used to be natural habitats, we're getting more and more neighbors. We're talking about those uninvited house guests, the furry, the feathered, and what you can actually do about them.
You know the sound, right? It's that faint scratching that you hear in the middle of the night, or maybe a weird thumping noise from the ceiling right over your head. It's the kind of sound that makes you just stop and listen and think, am I really alone in here? And yeah, a lot of the time the answer is no, you're not. You might just be sharing your home with a bit of wildlife. And what starts out as a little curiosity, just a weird noise, can actually turn into a really serious issue pretty fast. So today, we're going to break down exactly what is going on.
Okay, so first things first, let's meet the usual suspects. Who are these uninvited house guests? And maybe more importantly, why are they picking your house to move into? Well, it really all boils down to survival.
It's really easy to think of these animals as little villains trying to cause trouble, but honestly, they're just being smart. To them, your attic or your crawl space is like a five-star hotel. It's protection from the scorching heat or the freezing cold. It's a super safe nursery to raise a family, and it's a fortress away from predators. Our homes, they check all the boxes.
And who exactly are we talking about? Well, there are a few common culprits. You've got squirrels, who are just notorious for chewing on, well, everything, including really dangerous stuff like electrical wiring. Then you have raccoons. They're like the little cat burglars of the animal world. They have these incredibly nimble hands and can literally just tear open weak spots to get inside. Skunks, they prefer to set up shop underneath you, burrowing under your porch or foundation. And of course, birds, who see your vents as the absolute perfect spot to build a nest.
All right, so we know who they are, and we know why they want in. But the big question is, how in the world are they getting past our defenses? That's where we have to find the breach. And this is the part that gets everybody. You might think your home is sealed up tight as a drum, but to a determined little animal, a tiny overlooked gap, that's a wide open door. They are absolute pros at finding the path of least resistance.
So where are those paths? Think of this as a security checklist for your home's weak points. An uncovered roof vent is like putting out a welcome mat. Those small gaps where different parts of your roof meet the walls, prime real estate. Any loose siding or an uncapped chimney, these are all super highways for wildlife, and it really doesn't take much space. A squirrel can get through a hole just an inch wide, and a mouse can squeeze through a gap the size of a dime. It's unbelievable.
So once they're inside, the problem quickly goes from just being a nuisance to a genuine threat. This isn't just about weird noises anymore. Let's get into the hidden dangers.
The good news, if there is any, is that these critters, they aren't exactly subtle. They leave a trail of clues. Those sounds we talked about are a huge one, but you also want to keep an eye, and definitely a nose, out for these other red flags. A strong, musty smell can be a dead giveaway of waste or nesting materials. And if you peek into your attic, you might see droppings or insulation that looks all matted down and compressed. These are your warning signs. Don't ignore them, because if you ignore those signs, it leads to two major kinds of risks. On one hand, you've got the structural damage. They just shred insulation, which tanks your home's energy efficiency. They chew through wood. And this is the scariest one. They chew through electrical wiring, which creates a massive fire hazard. And then, on the other hand, you've got the health risks. These animals can carry parasites and bacteria. Their droppings can contaminate the air you breathe with things like salmonella or hantavirus. It's serious stuff.
Okay, so the problem is clear, the stakes are definitely high. How do you actually solve it? Well, this is where we get into the professional's playbook, and it's a strategy that goes way beyond just setting out a simple trap. A real lasting solution is actually a three-step process. It all starts with a super detailed inspection. Think of it like a detective phase, where you figure out exactly who's there, how they got in, and what kind of damage they've caused. Step 2, of course, is the safe and humane removal of the animals. But Step 3 is the one that most people forget, and honestly, it's the most important step of all.
And that step is called wildlife exclusion. Here's the critical thing to understand. If you get an animal out, but you don't seal up the hole they used to get in, you haven't solved the problem. You've just created a vacancy for the next animal to move right in. Exclusion means using tough, durable materials to permanently block off those entry points, reinforce the weak spots, and basically armor plate your home against any future invasions. That's the long-term fix. Which brings us to our final and maybe most empowering section,
how you can take charge and secure your own home. Because at the end of the day, prevention is always the best strategy.
Think of this as your preventative to-do list. And it's all pretty simple, proactive stuff. Trim back any tree branches that are basically acting like a bridge to your roof. Make sure your trash can lids are secure so you're not offering up a free buffet. And just take a walk around your house a couple of times a year. Look for those exact same gaps and cracks we talked about. Seriously, a little bit of prevention goes such a long way.
And all of this leaves us with one final thought to chew on. This isn't really just about pests, it's about shared space. As our cities and suburbs push farther and farther into their habitats, these kinds of encounters are just going to become more common. So the real challenge isn't just about keeping them out, it's about figuring out how we protect our homes while also learning how to coexist with the wildlife that is, quite literally, living right next door. Something to think about.